Welcome to Fiat America, land of the impoverished and home to the $20 burrito. Oh, what's that? You're upset? You're not happy? You wanted to be able to have what your parents had and be able to afford a home. You wanted to retire? Retirement? How dare you? Who do you think you are? Shut up, eat your burrito, and be happy. This is where we are, and if you're wondering how we got here, how everything became unaffordable, how burritos are $20 unless Mark Ledn makes them for you.
One of the reasons you can't buy a cheap burrito unless Mark Ledn makes one for you, and we hope he will.
Yeah, what the hell? Where's our burritos, Mark? Anyway, that reason for us having to start auctioning off limbs and organs to afford DoorDash, it all traces back to something that happened 55 years ago today.
The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
It's gotten so bad that presidents and vice presidents are asking some tough questions and raising some concerns. They're even getting bank licenses for their magic internet money and shitcoin companies. Okay, so what happened in 1971? How did we get here? And what is money? We're about to break it down, and by the end of today's show, you're going to understand why almost every issue we face stems from one place. Oh, and why inflation and tyranny under that system will only accelerate, and most importantly, what you can do and how Bitcoin is a tool you can use to preserve your wealth and separate money from state. Strap in, we got a big one today.
The more you learn about money and government control of money, you realize that that is the whole game. Everything else flows from that. Every evil thing that government does is only because they control the money supply. Like, take an evil thing that government does, and I'll explain how it's because they control the money supply, you know? Like, I mean, just think about, like, okay, we fought, like, a catastrophic 20-year war in Afghanistan that literally killed hundreds of thousands of people, cost trillions of dollars, and thousands of our bravest young boys died, and then tens of thousands committed suicide in the wake of the war, right? Well, just like imagine if they couldn't print the money for that war. Right. Imagine if they had to tax the American people every month for the war in Afghanistan. You think that thing would have lasted 20 years?
No way.
You'd have been lucky to get it through a year before the people would have demanded a result. Like, what are you doing here? I mean, just imagine trying to do the lockdowns of 2020 if they couldn't just print trillions of dollars and pass them out. That people wouldn't have taken it. They would have been like, no, we're going back to work. We're not doing this. It's only because they control the money that they can get away with tyranny. And listen, like, personally, like when I came up as a child of the Ron Paul presidential campaigns. Like, that's how I got interested in all of this stuff. And Ron Paul would always talk about the gold standard at the time. And don't get me wrong, I think a gold standard would be much, much better than what we have right now. The problem is that historically, what do nations do when they're on a gold standard and they need to fight a war? They just suspend the gold standard, you know? So the difference is that what Bitcoin brings is this decentralization, where if you were truly on a Bitcoin standard, someone in Washington, D.C. couldn't just say, we're going off the Bitcoin standard now. That's the power that Bitcoin has, that you can actually have a chance at separating money in the state. And that is the most important thing in the world to do.
All right, so quick history lesson, more entertaining than whatever you slept through in 10th grade, I promise you that. 1913, a group of very serious men take a very secretive train to a very private island off the coast of Georgia called Jekyll Island. They come back with something called the Federal Reserve. Cute little name, sounds like a nature preserve. Spoiler, it's a currency cartel. And the guy who basically wrote the blueprint 100 years earlier, a banker named Mayer Amschel Rothschild, said the quiet part out loud. Here it is. Give me control over a nation's currency, and I care not who makes its laws. Read that twice. He didn't need the presidency, he needed the printer. Only problem, in 1913, that printer still had a leash on it. Dollars were tied to gold. They can't print infinite anything because eventually somebody shows up wanting to trade paper for that shiny rock. Responsible, limiting. We can't have that. Fast forward 55 years to the day, August 15th, 1971. Nixon gets on TV on a Sunday night, interrupts everybody's programming, and tells the entire planet the U.S. is temporarily suspending the dollar's convertibility to gold. Temporarily. It's been 55 years. If 1913 loaded the gun, 1971 pulled the trigger. And this, the $20 burrito, the DoorDash kidney auction, is what 55 years of an unanchored currency looks like. If inflation scares you now, buckle up, because it's going to get much worse.
Are we experiencing inflation in the United States, do you believe?
Yes, we are experiencing inflation, and there is a reasonable chance that the inflation, at least the increase in household goods, is going to get much, much worse.
Why?
So it is because we've been going through a restructuring of the economy for many decades. This has been building for many decades. One, we start off with a model where we have a debt-based currency, and that debt basing forces huge expenses that you don't have to have. That's number one. But number two, we've run our fiscal economy in ways that I would describe as a financial coup d'etat. And as we've pulled resources out of the economy, we have consolidated ownership and control in a way that forces expenses, or it lowers the income for the general population and it raises their expenses. And this has been a intentional consolidation of ownership and control. And now you're seeing the results that result in people being squeezed in a variety of ways. So I'm describing a change in the financial model, this centralization of power and economic control. And it involves many different things throughout the economy. But the important thing to understand is it was a plan. It's intentional.
Let's look at the receipts. In 1950, minimum wage was 75 cents an hour. Median home price, $7,354. Do the math on that ratio and hold on to your chair to keep that same relationship between your labor and house today. Minimum wage would need to be $45 an hour. Not 15, not 20, 45. The actual federal minimum wage, something like $7.25. That's not homes got expensive. That's 55 years of your labor getting quietly mugged. One Federal Reserve meeting at a time. And it doesn't stop at housing. Of course, you and I know this. We're living it. Since 1971. Steak, up 687%. Healthcare. Man, they spend a lot of money on healthcare, but despite that, it's up 1,789%. The dollar itself, down 98% in purchasing power. And guess what? That dollar, the one financing endless wars and corporate welfare on your dime, is getting a facelift, and it's not a good one. As if debt-based and usury-based wasn't evil enough, they want to inject it with what Catherine Austin Fitts calls a third lock. Translation, a social credit system wired directly into your money.
And we are now approaching a time where whether you get you have a war or you get the control grid, controlling the domestic population is going to be very difficult.
So won't that control grid make it easier?
Yeah, if they can get it.
Yeah.
If they can put it into place. So, I mean, let's look at what they're hoping to do. What they're hoping to do, first of all, is to use stable coins and digital tokens to bring 4 billion people around the world, and this is the retail market, into the treasury market and into the U.S. stock and bond market. and literally take the US market share, for example, in the stock market up from 70% to 90% of the global stock market. So they're hoping to essentially tender for all the citizens in the world and bring them into our financial system. What the government wants to do, and what the Treasury and the central banks want, is they want an automatic third lock. So you don't have to go through the bank. And not only can you apply sanctions and know your customer and money laundering laws, you can apply a full-blown social credit system, right? So I can make up a hugely complex rule system for Tucker and his kids and his grandkids. I can customize it for each one of you, and I can give you incentives and I can give you rules. And unless you do exactly what I say, I can turn off your money, or I can apply negative interest rates to your money, or positive interest rates. I can raise your taxes without anybody having any say about it. So let me give you an example. Go back to the pandemic. If I say you're locked down and you and your family can't leave your house, your money won't work outside your house if I have an all digital system with an automatic third lock. And let's say I freeze your bank account. You can't go to your bank and talk to them. It's above their head. They won't be implementing it.
Wonderful. The dollar's graduating from nefarious to Satan incarnate. So what do we actually do about it? You start by asking the one question nobody teaches us. What is money? Michael Saylor just dropped an essay that annoyingly explains the whole thing better than most economics professors manage in multiple semesters. Here's the thesis. Money isn't just a medium of exchange. It's economic energy. This idea and framing can actually be traced back to Buckminster Fuller and time energy accounting. Go check out Critical Path. The dude was a visionary. If you know, you know. But you trade your time, your labor, your one finite life to create value. And money is just the technology that lets you store that value and move it through time. So the only real question for any monetary system is, how much of that energy actually survives the trip? Gold, great at storing energy. Terrible at moving it. Heavy, slow. And once it's in the financial system, you're just trusting some custodian's word that it's actually there. Hard money, mechanically defective. Fiat solved gold's mechanical problem and immediately created a political one. It moves fast, but the people who control it can dilute it, freeze it, or seize it whenever they decide you've been naughty. It literally leaks value while it sits in your account. Bitcoin is the first attempt at fixing both problems at once. No mass, no mint, no custodian, no political discretion, just 21 million units secured by a network that gets stronger every time somebody attacks it. Saylor's line, Bitcoin is designed to channel monetary energy across time and space with less leakage than any previous system. Translation, it's the first bank vault that nobody can rob, tax, or temporarily suspend on a Sunday night. And that's the kind of thing you want to protect and secure at all costs. If you're sitting there thinking, okay, cool theory, but what wallet do I use? What node do I run? What hardware doesn't get remote bricked? Good news. Our friends over at the Bitcoin Way have you covered. We're about to bring it home, but before we do, look at our likes.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
A lot of people who are serious about Bitcoin skip the most important part. Not NGU, holding your own keys, being your own bank. If the last few weeks taught you anything, it's that you need to be prepared. Multi-sig, running your own node, verifying your own chain instead of trusting someone else's. Bitcoin Way walks you through every step until you've actually got it, not just installed it. They also cover privacy phones and Plan B residency if you're thinking bigger picture. Schedule a free consultation, scan the QR, or hit the link below. Do it today. I've always been a skeptical guy on the Bitcoin-backed loans. Too many of these platforms turn into rug pulls wearing yield costumes. Ledn isn't that. 8 years, 10 billion in loans, 0 customer Bitcoin lost, 0 rehypothecated. They don't lend out your collateral, period. Auto top-up protection so you're never getting liquidated. Lowest rates in the market, no fine print. Keep your stack, get the cash, repay whenever. Zero penalties. I personally have 2 friends who have used the product to put down payments on their first homes. The smartest minds don't sell their assets. They borrow against them. Head over to learn.ledn.io/simply today.
Digital empowerment, digital capital. We're living through the digital transformation of assets. And this is just as profound transformation as digital intelligence. The real profound breakthrough of Bitcoin is this idea that you can take economic energy, convert it to digital form, and tightly bind it to the person, the family, the company, but the country. We can talk about how we all hate countries, but the history of the world is all the weak countries getting smashed by all the big countries. So if what you're interested in is empowerment and fairness and equity for the small company, the small family, the small person, the small country, the weak, how do you do it? Well, you basically encrypt the money, put it in cyberspace, protect it with a private key. It's like now you can actually own something and someone more powerful than you can't take it away from you.
So here's where 55 years gets us. A currency engineered in secret in 1913, unleashed in 1971, and now getting fitted for a digital leash they're calling innovation. Every headline you just watched, the burrito, the debt, the third lock. Not random. It's kind of the predictable output of a machine built to transfer your energy to someone else's balance sheet. Bitcoin isn't just a bet against that machine. It's the exit door. 21 million units, no custodian, no Sunday night surprise. You don't have to win the argument with the Fed. You just have to stop playing their game. Okay, real talk for a second. Not your keys, not your coins. I've said it. You've said it. We've all said it 1,000 times. But nobody really talks about the part after that. Once you got the keys, how do you not mess it up? Because I've seen people lose a seed phrase or get it replicated, forget where they hid it, spill copy on it, all of it. One dumb mistake and your whole stack's gone. That's the actual reason I like BitKey. Instead of one seed phrase holding everything together, it splits things 3 ways. By default, your phone, the BitKey hardware, and a key held by block. You only need 2 of 3 to move anything. So if you lose one, you're not locked out. And block can't touch your Bitcoin on their own either. Nobody's holding the keys to the kingdom but you. And here's the part I think is kind of underrated. The hardware itself shows you what you're signing. So even if your phone or laptop somehow got compromised, you're not blindly trusting some address. You're confirming the real one on hardware no one else can reach. No seed phrase to babysit, real recovery if you lose a device, a real plan for what happens to your stack down the road. That's not theory, that's how self-custody should have worked from the start. Download BitKey today. Use my code SENDIT for 10% off, and this episode has been brought to you by BitKey. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Stay humble, stack sats, don't sell your precious coin. Smash the like, hit subscribe, give us a pamp, and share with someone suffering from Burrito Gate. I know I am. And let us know what you think down below. Love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, f*** you.